Hello, this is Mandy with the Alva Public Library, and today I am going to tell you about the different parts of books. And I'm going to be using Robert Louis Stevenson's poems, Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, A Dance of Cloaks by David Dalglish. I don't know how to pronounce that. And The Pioneer Woman Cooks Dinner Time. So let's get started. Now, every book has a title page. We'll start with her. Now, there's usually a boring page with the title. And then there's the fancy page with the title. This is it. And it has the title, The Pioneer Woman Cooks Dinner Time, and the subtitle, if it has one, Comfort Classics, Freezer Foods, 16-Minute Meals, and Other Delicious Ways to Solve Supper, and the author and the publisher. Now let's look at Dance of Cloaks. Yep, it just has this one title page. The Dance of Cloaks, the author, and the publisher. Here's The Hobbits. Now this one has The Hobbit, its subtitle, We're There and Back Again, the author and the publisher, and a little symbol. That's J.R.R. Tolkien symbol. So that's the title page for The Hobbit. And for Winnie the Pooh, here's the boring one. And this is the title page, Winnie the Pooh, the author. And sometimes they'll also have a secondary author or illustrator. And here it has the decorations by Ernest H. Shepard. And the publisher, and a little art there. And then finally we have the poems of Robert Louis Stevenson. And he has his title, and of course it's written by him, so no need to put that he's the author, and the publisher, and fanciness. There's that title page as well. Poems of Robert Louis Stevenson with an introduction by William R. Trent, and publisher. Next we'll look at the copyright. Now this book, I don't know if it's the oldest in our collection, but I found this is one of the oldest ones. As you can see there, this is a copyright 1900. Copyright means it was published in 1900, or the year it was published, and that's the company that did it. So, and copyright pages can be very different, as you see as we go through time. For Winnie the Pooh, there we go. So we've got the title. It was published and copyrighted in 1926. There's the publishers, all rights reserved. That means you can't take this book and sell it, or take the insides of the book, rebound it, and sell it without their permission. They own this. It's their right. It was printed in the USA, and the first edition, 1926. This is a 1950 edition. So what that means is that each of these years represent, they took the story and they put it in a new cover, gave it new binding, and made a whole new book, but with the same stories inside. So, yeah. Same with The Hobbit. Look at theirs. Now, his was copyright 1937. Now, I went online and asked when J.R.R. Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, and it said 1932. So I am guessing he had written it all out in 1932, but didn't have it bound up in a book and for sale until 1937. And then there's all the other dates where it had been republished. And this is a 2007 copy. So this copyright page tells all the times it's been republished, all rights reserved, for information and permission to reproduce. Like I said, they own this. If you want to reproduce it, you have to ask for permission, and here's the info, website, and here's Library of Congress cataloging in publication data. Now that's just fancy words for a little information of what this book is. So this book is written by Tolkien J.R.R., John Ronald Reuel, and he was born in 1892, died in 1973. There's its title, again by him, A Preface by his son Christopher Tolkien, and it's the 70th anniversary edition. And here's the ISBN. Now, an ISBN stands for International Standard Book Number. They started in 1967. So Winnie the Pooh, it doesn't have it. It's this number usually found right here by the barcode. And what this code does is it's telling you it's this book. It's this edition. It's the hardcover. Now, if it was the same exact book in paperback, it would have a different number. So it's just telling you which edition it is, because some editions are prettier, or you want the older original ones. And so this number helps you find that copy. It helps identify which book it is. So that's what that is. ISBN started in 1967, and so that's why you don't see it on the Winnie the Pooh or the poems. So that's when they started showing up. Okay, here, look at the copyright for him. Copyright 2013. Excerpts. All rights reserved. Can't copy these or we'll sue ya. Publisher. This is the first edition, whereas the ones in the past, they've been reprinted. This is the first book. And yep. The characters and events in this book are fictitious, and so can't sue us over that either. So that's what that copyright looks like. And then finally hers. She has extra information. Her other books she wrote. There's the copyright 2015, first edition. It was designed by this person, how they set it up and everything. And photographs there by her. And Library of Congress catalog publication. That's the little information that you saw in The Hobbit. They didn't put it in, but you can apply for it. And these are all the different types of ISBNs for this specific, or for the title of this book, Pioneer Women. So there's a hardcover edition, a Target edition, a Walmart edition, Barnes & Noble signed edition, and a BAM signed edition. So they all get their own number, ISBN number. All right, table of contents. So, table of contents is a table that tells you the contents. It shows what's in the book and what pages to find it. So, on this cookbook, we have the introduction. The first stuff that doesn't pertain or isn't the story, this is nonfiction, but isn't recipes. They usually get little Roman numerals, and then the content gets numbers. So introduction, a typical week, prep tips, stocking up, and then this table of contents, she has pictures for each chapter and a little description. And then the end there. All right. Let's see if he has one. Not all books have a table of contents. He doesn't. Let's look at The Hobbit. Preface. Okay. Here's his table of contents, and again, see Roman numerals for the list of illustrations and note on the text. And then we get to the real story where there's numbers, and we have the first chapter, An Unexpected Party. So if you're like, here's chapter 7, and it gives you a title for that chapter. Now, not all books have chapter titles. Sometimes they're just chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And it tells you the location where that chapter is. So chapter 5, Riddles in the Dark, is on page 65. Let's go there. 65. There it is. Chapter 5, Riddles in the Dark. Okay, Winnie the Pooh. All right, and there's the number, title of the chapter, and where it's located. And the poems one, he also has a table of contents. These are the titles of his poems. So Windy Nights is on page 13, and The Cow is page 32. So we just flip over there, 32, and there it is. So that helps you find information. Because with these poems, you don't have to read all the way through like a story. If there's a certain poem, you can just skip to it, and the table of contents will help you with that. All right, next we'll talk about the preface. Now, a preface tells readers how and why the book came into being. Usually it's written by the author, but this one is written by his son, let's see here, Christopher Tolkien in 1987. So the preface, it just tells what was going on in J.R. Tolkien's life and how this book came to be, like what was going on and how did he start it. And so that's what a preface is. Oh, and another extra thing, see this little star right here? This is a footnote. It's called a footnote because there's this symbolizes extra information found at the foot of the page. So preface, this preface is excerpted from the foreword to The Hobbit 50th Anniversary Edition, published in 1987. So they just lifted this from the 50th Anniversary Edition, whereas this is the 75th, and stuck it in here. But it still pertains to what's written in here, so it still works. So footnote is additional information to this word or the passage that just came before it. You don't have to read the footnote, but if you want extra info, that's what that is. All right. Did she have a preface or an introduction? She has an introduction. Now, an introduction introduces readers to the book and prepares the readers for what they can expect. Like, what's going to be in here? And she's like, I'll tell you what's going to be here. And the introduction was written by her. Winnie the Pooh also has an introduction. And he uses his to introduce the characters Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. So you already kind of know about the characters before you dive in. So that's what that introduction did. Dedications. Dedications are just like really sappy little short blurbs. They're like, this book wouldn't be possible, or this one specific is, to Sam, who against all sane advice married me anyway. It's like, I dedicate this book to you. This is for you. You made this happen. So that's what a dedication is. Maps. Not all books have maps, but usually fantasy books have maps. And usually because the characters move around the land area a lot, and so it gives you an idea of what's happening. So that's the map for there. Winnie the Pooh. his map is on with the cover. And so sometimes publishers do that. They either make it part of a cover or they have a separate page for it. So there's Winnie the Pooh's. And of course, this one also as well was on the cover. And there's a little bit of the map. And there's more. Okay. And then prologue and epilogue. Prologue comes before. It's a little clip into what's going to happen in the story, like a catalyst or something that catches your attention. Like, ooh, what happened? But it usually happens, this one happened, let me see, I think it said 5 years. 5 years earlier than the main story. So it's somehow connected with this, but it isn't necessary. So you can skip over the prologue, but I don't recommend it. And it's usually one of the more interesting parts of the book. And an epilogue is found, of course, in the back. And again, you don't have to read it. It's not part of the main story. But the epilogue is like, you finished up, defeated the bad guys, and then it's like, aha, it turns out there were still some evil alive, and we'll get you next time. Kind of a to be continued kind of thing. Or in some series, this is a series book. So that might be what the epilogue is, or it might tell you what happened later on in the characters' lives. Like, did they get married? How many kids did they have? And it tells information like that. Or what were the consequences of what happened in the story? This usually sums up if you want to know that. And finally, index. An index is located at the very back of your book, and it helps you find very specific things. Usually they're found just in nonfiction. This is a nonfiction book. So say I go here and I have a chicken thawing. I want to make something with chicken. What do I go to? Do I just flip through this whole thing? No, you don't have to. You can go all the way to the index, go to C, find us chicken. Where are you, chicken? Chicken. And then right there, it lists all the recipes with chicken, and that's their page number. So Cobb salad has chicken on page 50 and 52. Cobb salad. Ta-da! There's your chicken. And if you're like, I just want some polenta. I know what I want. A polenta. Do you have polenta in this book? Give me your recipe. So instead of flipping through the whole thing looking for it, you can go back here to the index, go under P, LMNO, P, polenta. P-O, polenta. 322 to 23. 322, 23. Voila! Such a time saver. So that's the index. So that is how what books are made of and all the tools within them. And so now you can find your way around most any book. Thanks.